What is up, boyos? Welcome to another car review, and today we are talking about the Super Mario Brothers movie. I just saw it in theaters, now I'm in my car, very obviously in my car, and straight out of the theater. I really am straight out of the theater, and we're going to talk about it right now. I remember when this movie was announced, everyone was like, I can't believe this is real.
I also wanted to reveal our key cast members who will be voicing Mario and his friends in the
I'm here to
movie.
make an announcement, folks.
First, of course, is Mario, who will be played by Chris Pratt. He's so Bowser will be played by the one and only Jack Black. I'm expecting a monster performance by Jackson.
Well, it's real. And I have a lot of thoughts about it. Is this the movie to break the video game curse? Well, let's talk about that.
Let's end this.
Super Mario Bros. Is a movie I feel very mixed about. It has a lot of good going for it. But despite having all of this goodwill going for it, everyone was excited for it coming out. Everyone was excited by the trailers because it looked so good. It does have some pretty significant shortcomings. Now, there's this debate going on online about the Rotten Tomatoes score of this movie. This movie is at a 53% currently on Rotten Tomatoes, which frankly is pretty bad. So basically the way Rotten Tomatoes works is you either get a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and 53% of critics gave it a thumbs up. The other 47 would be a thumbs down, I guess, but that doesn't necessarily mean that those thumbs down think it's the worst movie ever or anything like that. It could be that it's just barely meeting that thumbs down. But it does have a 96% when it comes to an audience score and an A+ cinema score, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. An A cinema score. So that's a pretty good audience score. So there is a debate online on whether or not movie critics are out of touch when it comes to kids movies because they always give kids movies bad scores. I think that's a little ridiculous right after we just got a movie like Puss in Boots, which got an amazing Rotten Tomatoes score. I think 53% is a little harsh, but this movie is lacking when it comes to plot and character depth. Some of the acting choices are questionable. And some of the jokes are, honestly, and I don't use this term lightly, cringe. That being said, there's a lot I like about this movie. The things I do like about this movie, surprisingly, Chris Pratt was pretty good as Mario. He's not just using his Chris Pratt voice. He actually does do a pretty good character when it comes to using his voice. I thought Jack Black as Bowser. Incredible, truly a great choice. One of the standouts of this movie. I think the best part of this movie is the soundtrack. They brought in Koji Kondo, who is an incredible music composer, and he's been doing the Mario music since the beginning. And to team him up with someone like Brian Tyler, who's, not like a Michael Giacchino, but he does do, smaller movies. Like he did the most recent Scream movie. He did the Fate of the Furious. So he's experienced in big, bombastic sort of scores. Not to say that he hasn't done some more subdued stuff, but he has done a lot of big, bombastic scores, which is something you need for a big Mario movie. So to team him up with Koji Kondo, genius. And the score is incredible. It's a top tier. It went way too hard. Truly, my favorite part of this movie was actually and this is not like a diss or anything, but my favorite part of this movie was the end credits, because they added these really cool animations to the end credits and played all of the themes and stuff, and it was incredible. It sounded great. I thought the animation was incredible. It looked beautiful. Just a gorgeous movie, truly. It's exactly how I wanted a Mario movie to look. So this movie does have a lot going for it. So I'm not trying to say that this movie is bad by any means. But all that being said, there are some weaknesses. I was talking about how Chris Pratt was great and how Jack Black was great as Bowser. There's some other cast in here who I thought were not great. Main example, we've got Fred Armisen as Cranky Kong, which when I saw that casting, I thought that was great. I could see him being a great character actor and doing some sort of weird voice. The voice he chose was just bizarre. When you imagine Cranky Kong, you imagine some old guy like, oh, I'm an old man or something. But he just sort of did like, hey, I'm Cranky Kong. Like, it was weird. It was like, what? It was a weird choice. Honestly, I was really excited about Anya Taylor-Joy because I think she's a great actress. But her Princess Peach was honestly a little uninspired. It didn't do a lot for me. And to be honest, some of the acting from her in particular felt a little phoned in. That could have been the director's fault or the editing or something, but it just was not landing for me. Surprisingly, I liked Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. I thought he was pretty good. Keegan-Michael Key, though, was a strange one. There were certain parts of this movie where I'm like, oh, Keegan-Michael Key is knocking it out of the park right now. Then there were other times where I'm like, this kind of sucks. I don't know. And I don't know if that's fully his fault or the script's fault or what's going on. Because I will say, the script, not great. And I know what everyone's thinking. Dude, it's a Mario movie. That is so true, brother. I hear you. But it's hard to say that when we have movies like the Lego Movie, which was able to take a ridiculous concept like, hey, we're making a movie out of fucking Legos. And it created this heartfelt movie that really had some heart to it and some emotion. And this movie is not that. This movie has a little bit of heart when it comes to like the brother relationship between Mario and Luigi, but they're separated through the whole movie. So when they come back together at the end, you're like, oh, that's great. And I see what they're going for, but it's like, I don't know. This was done better in Frozen, to be honest. And through a lot of this movie, it just kind of felt like we were going through the motions. We were just trying to get from one thing to the next because it's like, hey, we got to see Mario jumping on some platforms. We got to see Mario eating a mushroom. We got to see Mario fighting Donkey Kong. Hey, we got to see some Mario Kart. Like it was like, we have to just move the plot enough to get to the next thing. It was a collection of things, and then the connective tissue between those scenes is paper thin, if that makes sense. And I think a big part of that is because this movie really wanted to speak to fans, because there is a lot of fan service in this movie, and some of it's really cool. I think the fact that Jack Black's Bowser was very obviously influenced by the Bowser we got in Mario Odyssey most recently. He even wears the white suit from Mario Odyssey. It was basically Mario Odyssey Bowser, but he's like into super metal. He's into heavy metal. And I love that. I think that's a great choice. There are so many references to all the different games. You know, we've got Cat Mario, we've got Raccoon Mario, we've got a neat little reference to Super Mario Galaxy. Pauline is there, which I do have a question about Pauline. Pauline shows up as the mayor of Brooklyn, and we know from Super Mario Odyssey that Pauline is the mayor of New Donk City. And at the end of this movie, spoilers, we see that the Mushroom Kingdom sort of spills into Brooklyn. So I wonder if they like sort of rebrand Brooklyn as New Donk City, as like an in-between world. That'd be cool, just for the sequel, like, because we're obviously going to get a sequel because this movie's going to make a gajillion dollars. So there's a lot of cool stuff there as far as like they're building this world out. You can tell that we're going to get a sequel, but the problem is we've got so many references in this movie that it almost feels like a movie just saying, hey, you remember this? Hey, you remember this? You remember this from this? The whole time, instead of actually telling a decent story. Which is fine, you know, like there's a place for that, and I didn't hate it. So like, don't get me wrong, I did not hate this movie, but could you imagine if we got like a Lord and Miller directing this? It would have been incredible. And there's even some references to just like Nintendo overall. You know, we've got Mario playing Kid Icarus at the beginning of the movie, which was super cool. We've got Luigi's cell phone being the GameCube startup sound, which is so good. And this movie is just so chocked full of references that there will be like a Watch Mojo video that's like top 10 million Easter eggs from Mario movie. You know, like there's going to be tons of those kinds of videos on YouTube. And they were definitely leaning into that. And I think that was their way of reaching an older audience, was just by appealing to people who have played these games for 30 years. Like me, I definitely was drawn in by that nostalgia because I have played pretty much every Mario game. So all the references I understood. But besides that, there's just not a lot there for like an adult viewer. It's very much a kid movie, which is fine. But like I said earlier, it's hard to make that argument when we just got Puss in Boots, which is so great at appealing to a younger and older audience simultaneously. You know what I mean? So all that being said, I thought the Super Mario Bros. Movie was pretty good. I loved the fact that we got the little hint to Luigi being in Luigi's Mansion, like in the games. In fact, I would have loved more of that. He gets captured way too quickly. I would have loved like a whole segment of him sneaking through Bowser's Mansion as like a little Luigi's Mansion reference. That would have been so good. Luma is my favorite character in this entire movie. She's hilarious. And I hope the fact that we see Luma in this movie, we get Rosalina in the future. I feel like that's probably where we're headed to. The fact that they mentioned Super Mario Galaxy and that Luma was in this movie probably means we're getting Rosalina at some point. Because this movie is lacking in the woman department. There's a lot of dudes in this movie, so I would love to see Rosalina. I would love to see Pauline show up as more than just a cameo. I would love to see Daisy show up. I'd love to see more of the Kongs. Candy Kong would be great. And just more of the Kong family in general. We got a little tease of them. You know, obviously we got Cranky Kong and Donkey Kong. And I did enjoy the relationship between Donkey Kong and Mario. And I thought Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong was totally fine. I thought he was totally fine. But yeah, I would love to see more of this stuff in the future. I do wonder what's next for Nintendo, because Nintendo had this really cool opening card where it's like, hey, this is a Nintendo movie. And it was really cool to see like the Nintendo logo before this movie opened up, you know, sort of like how the PlayStation Studios logo shows up before the Uncharted movie and The Last of Us and stuff. It felt like, hey, we're going to see this logo showing up in more movies. And obviously, we're going to get another Mario movie. There is a little Easter egg at the end of the movie. I won't even say what it is. But obviously, we're getting another Mario movie, but I would love to see a Zelda movie. You could really just use the plot of Ocarina of Time and just like kind of flesh it out, because Ocarina of Time is just so iconic and the story is super good. So yeah, just use that to make a movie. I'd love to see a Metroid movie. I'd love to see a Star Fox movie. That'd be super cool. And if you could get all of these movies kind of going simultaneously, and then we kind of meet up in the middle for like a Smash Bros movie, woo, that'd be cool. That would be super sick. But I can't imagine a Smash Bros movie being very good, other than just sort of appealing to fans. So I imagine you make the Smash Bros movie, make a ton of money, and you have to stop there because that movie's gonna suck. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the Mario movie. Not great, not terrible. But what are you gonna do with Mario? You know, like he's pretty much like a character that doesn't say anything besides like wahoo and it's a me. You know, like that's really all he says. So it's hard to actually make a whole fleshed out movie, and they did it, and it wasn't terrible. I think the fans are going to be happy with it. I think a lot of kids are going to like this movie. Yeah. And I think people will go back to theaters to see it over and over and over again, just to find all the different Easter eggs, and that's cool. I probably won't, but it's not bad. So that is my review. Follow me on Letterboxd, Lonercast Jake. Subscribe to the channel. That'd be fantastic. Follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Lonercast. Stay lonely.